Hello, hello, you're tuned into episode 109 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best buds, usually from different nations, but this week from the same nation, come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Stephen Radford, joined this week by my very good friend and co-host, back from the depths of Blasphemous 2 or whatever you're playing, it's Mr. Rex Wright. Welcome back.
Ahoy, ahoy. I thought that seeing as Pete's not here, it feels like a safe space for me to come and discuss and also just talk like a bunch of shit about him.
I remember when Pete went away on vacation last time. I think it might have been for his honeymoon. Mm-hmm. You filled in for him, and you're doing the same thing again. Now he's like gallivanting around Mickey Mouse's home. Are you sticking around this time?
Is he on Disneyland again?
Yeah, he's in Disneyland again. He lives in Disneyland.
You went to Disneyland like whatever. I'm not gonna.
He's one of the Disney adults. You know, he's like always there.
Yeah, Disney adults. I'll stick around. Yeah. I'm in the process of moving. And that was a big. Yes. Basically, yeah.
People will be glad to hear it. My dad even messaged me today and was like, "I see Max is back." And I was like, yeah, he's back. He's had a lot going on. He's moving house and stuff. And he was like, good, I like Max. So, you've got
Andy on side.
Yeah, you've got my dad's seal of approval, Max. Excellent. Which is all you need in life.
I look forward to the invitation for Christmas and New Year's. That's very exciting.
Hey, if you're into Jackbox, then you'll get on really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bit of Jackbox, some board games. I know you're a board game person. That's basically my family's Christmas and New Year.
I might sack my family off.
Yeah, there you go.
See you next year. Let's go around to the Radfords.
Yeah.
A rad Christmas.
Yeah, we can crack out the secret Hitler. We can try and assassinate Hitler together. It'd be a really
very
good time.
Festive.
Yeah.
So festive.
Yeah, I really want to do an episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast one week about board games, but I don't know if anyone would listen to it. So if anyone wants to hear us babble about board games at some point, because Max plays D&D every single week, and I know I want to know about that, then please let us know, because I would love to talk about board games at some point. Pete has no interest in board games.
Really? The guy likes Disney and not board games.
Yeah.
This man. This guy, he's so brazen with the shit that he talks. And he's just the flimsiest glass in that house when he throws his stones.
Anyway, this week we're talking, of course, about Xbox. Last week we had like the minor leak of next gen starting in 2028, and then I woke up the next day after we'd released the episode, and there was just everything. Microsoft had leaked everything. But before we get into the big leaks, there is some news, which is bad news for me and you, Max, possibly. The CMA has given preliminary approval for Xbox to buy Activision, which means that Pete's prediction that Xbox would own Activision Blizzard by the end of the year seems like it's getting closer and closer to being a reality.
Not if a certain pair of British internet friends turn up at the offices of, I don't know, the CMA and launch some sort of coup all in the name of Pete. Because if we use Pete as our, we use Pete's name, for Pete we do this.
Don't you know I am? Yeah,
I'm Pete. And what we can do is we can not only stop the Activision deal from going through for our points, we can also make it so that Pete goes to prison for a very long time.
Oh, some kind of insider trading or something. Yeah, he's in cahoots.
Just incitement of terrorism is probably a pretty
okay. This escalated quickly. I don't know that I want to put Pete away on those charges.
There's a lot of charges I would want to put Pete away on,
but not playing Hitman for starters. Like seriously, when is he ever going to play that game? But
not asked. This sounds like this is going to happen, doesn't it? This sounds like we're going to be having all these things, COD on Switch, all of these things that they've been promising and talking about.
It seems like
they've been throwing wires out, haven't they?
It seems like Call of Duty on Switch was going to happen anyway, because we spoke about it on last week's Nintendo Noise. Bobby Kotick got revealed in this FTC leak that they'd been briefed on the Nintendo Switch 2 a year ago, like 2 years ago. Back in 2020, I think it was, so 3 years ago now. So they've known for a long time about the Switch 2. And so I think they'd already made a decision that they could release something on the Switch, and Call of Duty was probably there.
Yeah, it was just Microsoft. Maybe they were like, oh, maybe we can give you this as some leverage or yada yada. But yeah, I mean, like I'd sort of put this to the back of my mind because it was the same sort of stuff every week, and now this actually seems like it's good news. It's just the word preliminary in front of it that I'm like, okay, at any point, they're going to go, actually, no, it's not preliminary, it's preliminary, and then this isn't going to happen, and blah blah blah. Like, I just want this sort of thing to be over. This is the Switch Pro rumors of this year for me. Do you remember I said at the very beginning of the year, or maybe it was the end of last year, I don't want to talk about Switch Pro rumors at all this year. I was putting a firm stance on it.
Okay. I think you're going to have to on this week's Nintendo News.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, what else the fuck is happening? But I am approaching that with this, where it's like, how many times can we say, maybe next time, maybe the next bit of news will get us hopeful. Just do it already.
Well, we may have closure. A final ruling is expected before October 18th. So I would imagine
that's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I imagine we'll know for certain. The CMA has said that they've considered the restructured deal, and it makes important changes that substantially addresses the concerns that they set out in relation to the original transaction earlier this year, and it opens the door to the deal being cleared. Those changes, just to remind the listeners, are Ubisoft taking over all of the streaming rights for Activision Blizzard's games in perpetuity, and Microsoft licensing back the games for Xbox Cloud Gaming. That includes Call of Duty, but also all of Activision Blizzard's games, including World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, all of those games Ubisoft would own the streaming rights for. And they also put into the document that there's a provision in place, so it specifically calls out Proton, for example, that Ubisoft can request that Activision Blizzard makes changes for those kind of transpilation or emulation layers. They call it emulation in the document. Seems like this may go through. We're obviously going to have to wait and see. Phil Spencer put out a memo internally and said, today the UK CMA provisionally concluded that solutions we offered to address its concerns about the impact of the acquisition on future competition in cloud game streaming are acceptable. This is a positive development and a welcome indicator that our hard work is bringing us closer to our goal. Prior to making its final decision on whether to clear the transaction, the CMA is soliciting feedback from the industry and the public. I really hope they're not going to speak to Jim Ryan again, because maybe he's the one person that could sway them for not putting this through.
Yeah, I mean, he's had enough shit to throw, hasn't he? Really, in the past. But I think maybe it's all out of their hands. I think they've had enough crying, and now it's time for the real business to happen.
Yeah, we had a couple of questions, right?
Like interesting questions.
Yeah, we had one from AV over on the Discord, and they said, "Let's get binary. Who won and why? The CMA or Xbox? What do you think, Max?"
I mean, the Xbox get what they wanted, even with all the things the CMA had to make them change and blah blah blah. Like, even if they've had to take some certain things out or maneuver some things, Xbox still gets what it wants, even if it has to cut some little bits off and hand bits off to Ubisoft and yada yada.
Yeah, but it's a small bit that I don't think they really care about.
Yeah.
I think the biggest winner here is the EU. They've made the UK look like fools again. The EU were able to get something out of Microsoft meaningful for their citizens that was a worldwide license for all of these streaming games on any platform. The Ubisoft rights don't overwrite all of those deals that are in place. Those deals are withstanding. And I think it doesn't look good for the CMA. It looks like they've had to kind of roll over and just like accept that they've lost, and because everyone else seemingly has accepted defeat, the only people that haven't are the FTC, and they're continuing with their trial against Microsoft, and that's the reason we've got these leaks, because it's documents that Microsoft uploaded. And so we'll have to see what happens in that trial, but even then the FTC lost their injunction, so Microsoft can acquire Activision Blizzard King, and they might just have to unravel it if the FTC finds that it is an illegal deal in violation of antitrust laws. But I think I would agree with you. CMA won.
Things that are involved.
Xbox won. CMA lost. Yeah.
He's the real winner here because he's sort of getting getting the point, and that's the biggest thing is the split screen games points. They're worth more than the billions of dollars that that Activision and Microsoft are exchanging right now. I don't know if you agree with that or not. As the founder, one of the founders of the currency, the point currency.
The point currency. I mean,
Point currency.
look, I'm with you, Max. I think some of Pete's things should be on the predictions should be removed. The E3
Say
thing
it louder.
didn't.
Say it louder.
E3 didn't go ahead, so that shouldn't be there. And we'll do a check-in with Pete when he's back, and we can argue the toss with him at that point.
I already feel myself getting upset, like angry by this. Like I wanted to lash out, but it's just you, so I won't. Very, very gentle. Snack Hugo wrote in with a question. Do you want me to read that one out?
Yeah, go for it.
Go on in. So, looking at the CMA. Start again. Looking at the CMA. Oh my word. Looking at the. It's been a while. You can tell it's been a while.
Yeah.
Looking at the CMA.
You're not wearing your
deal now
glasses,
being
so I blame that.
I can read the words just, but that's the point. Maybe that was. Looking at the CMA deal now being approved, with how much it's been talked about and the implications surrounding the deal, what does Xbox look like 10 years from now? Will their status change in the mind of gamers? Good point.
I think this is really interesting when you look at it in combination with the leaked documents that we're going to touch on, because it really outlines a shift and a change in Xbox's strategy. And I think it's a strategy that they've wanted to put in place since the Xbox One era.
Yeah, I would say it's not even that much of a, not to jump too quickly, but I wouldn't say it's a they've shifted away. They've just sort of looped back around in a big little circle, and now they're going to pick up from where they left off before, where the technology wasn't ready, the audience wasn't ready, and now they're like, well, now we have the technology, we have the audience, we have the precedent set, and we have
the content. They've got the library of stuff. Yeah,
we've got the library. We can do this now, and whether or not it's been this is exactly what they've been planning, and this is sort of like a grand strategy playing out, or if it's just some of it's being snap judgment, some of it being like, oh, now we have this, maybe we can do this, or whatever. But I do think that, like you say, in these documents, we're going to see what Xbox is going to like from 10 years from now. That is, unless the audience was to revolt or really vote with their wallets in a meaningful way that changes this. But
look, I think this is part of a grand strategy that they kind of set out, and we spoke about this on Nintendo Noise. There was an internal document. It was an email that Phil sent talking about purchasing Nintendo. We spoke about it on that podcast, that it didn't seem like it was he's going to go for Nintendo. He really wants to buy them, but he had got approval from the board of directors to make that deal, and also to buy Valve, and also to buy Warner Brothers Games, and this was all pre-ZeniMax, before the Bethesda deal. So they had obviously been looking to bolster up their library of content, and we saw that in the leaks. We're not going to touch on it today. Bethesda's lineup for the next few years was leaked as well. So we obviously knew about Starfield. There was I think it was Project Hideki or something, which was Hi-Fi Rush. And there was a bunch of other games, including the Oblivion remasters, Fallout remasters, Dishonored 3. So it looks like they had eyes on the content that was coming. That goes into Game Pass. More people subscribe to Game Pass. That increases their strategy, which seems to be potentially a shift away from consoles in 2028. So there was this document that leaked that was uploaded to the FTC by Microsoft, unredacted, by mistake. Judge Corley confirmed that Microsoft was responsible for uploading the files, and they were the ones that did not redact them or upload them correctly, because they uploaded them to a public space that should not have been uploaded to.
Who's the guy that hit the upload button? That's got to have been a conversation.
Right? It's got to be some lawyer. My guess would be either in-house counsel or some outside lawyer that they've got that's dealing with the FTC, and they're just look, here's all the documents as part of discovery. We've got to hand this over to the FTC and upload it to the court, the website. Can you kind of deal with this? And they
said, give it to Boss Baby. And it's just a toddler in a little suit with a nice little quiff. And he's gone, all right, goo goo gaga, and just uploaded the full thing.
Yeah. It's not good, right? So we've got to look at basically their whole lineup from 2024 all the way up to 2030. The document is called Path to 2030, and it seems to be from May 2022. It seems to be a document from a couple of years ago, so it's a couple of years old. And Phil Spencer did post over on X, formerly Twitter, and say that he's seen the conversation around old emails and documents, and it's hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We'll share the real plans when we're ready. So keep that in mind when we talk about any of this. All of this is old documents from a couple of years ago. It's quite possible that all of this is bollocks at this point. But I don't think it is. It really looks legit. What was the first thing you saw, Max, from this leak? And like how did you react to it? Were you like, is this real? Like, where's this come from?
So the first thing I saw was people were just posting the names of games, and I was like, what have I just missed? Like a big event of Oblivion and Remastered was trending, and Doom Year Zero, whatever it's called, with people were posting things like that, and I was like, have I just missed like a huge stream or something? And I tried to look it up, and I was like, well, what's going on? And then I saw all of this, and then I saw the little Xbox Series X, the little round one, and I was like, what is happening? Was it only then that I sort of twigged that this was all leaked and this was all stuff that had been sort of put out? But I think my first thought about this little control. I don't know if we want to start talking about this Series X refresh.
Yeah, let's touch on the Series X refresh. So it looks like there's a new Series X due to release next October. It's codenamed Brooklyn, and it is now adorably all digital, which means it loses the disk drive. Instead, we get a 2 terabyte drive, a new cylindrical design that elevates the all digital experience of the Xbox ecosystem. And we could touch on that because I think
stop you there.
Yeah.
Sorry, finish what you were just
I think we should touch on that because I think that's their strategy moving forward. And I spoke about this on last week's podcast where I said I don't think the next Xbox is going to have a disk drive. Seems like we don't even need to wait till the next Xbox. It's the Series X that's going to refresh, and discs are gone.
Yeah, this is what I was. This was like when I saw this, my first thought was that's typical, and that makes perfect sense. But it wasn't a negative thought. It wasn't like, oh, the classic Xbox trying to, lock you into the digital ecosystem. It's all DRM. It's all this and the other. My thought was just there is clearly a trend of people going digital only. The PlayStation's doing digital only. The rumors are that the next PlayStation is going to be digital only. You have to buy the disc drive separate to use discs. People are just buying games digitally, especially with Games Pass, when they're not even really buying Xbox games necessarily. They're just getting them on Games Pass, getting them early. And if that's Xbox's big play, makes sense to have this. The only thing I think is a slight negative on this is that it's got the same price, but it does have the 2 terabyte drive in it, so that's good. I mean, other than that, it's just an Xbox, right? It's just if it's the same price and you can get the disc drive
and you've doubled the storage,
still got the option. Yeah, like you've got the option. If you want to get the disc one, I guess you've still got the option. It's then what comes next.
Well, it looks like the that option is going to go away. So Starkville, which is the code name of the current X Series X. It's end of life ahead of the Brooklyn launch. So they are going to phase that out. So expect either this holiday season or coming into early next year to see the current Series X to be available at a discount because they're going to be phasing it out. And then launching this in October of next year, end of October of next year. At least that's the plan. That was the plan when this document was created. They've also planned to launch a 1 terabyte version of the Series S called Elwood. Could be that we've already got that because we got the 1 terabyte version, or this could be a new iteration of that 1 terabyte version, and they're doing an end of life on Edith, the 512 gigabyte model. They're going to do that as a $199 Black Friday offer and then phase it out. So that's not going to exist. So you'll have 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte as the options on the Series S and the Series X respectively. You've got USB-C on the front of the Series X now as well. We don't have a USB-C port on the Series X at the moment. Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, a 6 nanometer die shrink, which makes it more power efficient. It means they can reduce the size of the power supply by 50%, which is presumably going to make the Series X smaller. And I think this is a logical next step. I think the reason it being all digital doesn't bother me. This isn't a Pro model. It's not a model to replace your current Series X. It's a new Series X for people who haven't necessarily bought into the ecosystem yet. So they may not have discs. And if you do have discs, I really hope there is a way for you to bring those over if you've got an Xbox One, for example. And I hope there is some kind of strategy where you can use an external drive.
That would be nice, yeah. Or even just a way to like claim a license, which I know is DRM, but if that's the way it is going to go forward, you know, claim the disc, one use, that's it. If the systems aren't going to have discs anymore, I think that issue of DRM and that issue of not being able to share discs stops being an issue because there are no discs, right? So that the plan is then, all right, fine, you can just have all, you know, one time you can claim that disc as yours digitally, you know.
And this is a distinctly console only issue. Yeah, PC went digital over a decade ago at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one cares. Nobody cares. The thing people care about is I want all my games in Steam, a platform owned by one company, and I want all of my games in that one place, which is insane when you think about it. It's a third-party company that controls a platform that they don't own.
Yeah.
And I think people have been slowly building their digital libraries since the Xbox One era. There's Game Pass. Yeah, you've got sales, you've got EA Play, Ubisoft Plus is now available on Xbox. All of these things go together with the 2 terabytes of storage built in now. And they talk about more storage options as well in the roadmap.
Well, hopefully it's going to be, you know, less proprietary plug-in ones.
That's my hope, yeah.
Open it and chuck an SSD or an NVMe in, you know, the same way you can on PlayStation, because the prices and as the prices go down and the, you know, the sizes of them grow, I regret getting the one I got for my PlayStation a year and a half ago now, because I can get something double the size for half the price, you know.
Yeah, and I think I spoke about this on last week's episode, that the proprietary carts at launch seem like a great idea because you don't have to open up the console to put it in. The NVMe drives at the PlayStation 5's launch were expensive, and the PlayStation 5 didn't even have the firmware to utilize them, and you had to buy special ones with a heatsink that would fit, and it was all very confusing to the consumer. But that problem's gone away, and now those drives are so much cheaper, they're readily available, and I don't have to buy from just 2 manufacturers. And there's way more storage options as well. You know, the most I can buy on one of those cards, I think, is 1 terabyte. It might be 2 terabytes now. But at launch, you can only buy a 1 terabyte one that plugs in.
And it was crazy expensive, right? It sort of reminded me a lot of the old Sony, the PlayStation Vita, Sony SD cards, what they called memory sticks.
Yeah.
They were like, it was expensive. And I think proprietary memory is just one of those things that is hopefully just going to disappear because, I don't know. It's just we all need that sort of stuff, and the technology is always getting cheaper, and I think companies know that, and they just want to get a foothold in it, maybe. And hopefully, Xbox has learnt their mistake there. And you know, while there may be some people that say that this refresh or this sort of strategy for them is not maybe as consumer friendly as the you know Series X, they could hopefully try and win back some, you know, by saying, oh look, you don't also have to then buy our proprietary thing. You can then buy this, you know, whatever you want, whatever you can fit in there, so it's more affordable for you. And that's what I like about PC gaming a lot, is like I have the choice to do what I want. You know, I want to get something there or put something in there or have this memory, you know, whatever fits my budget, whatever fits my style. And as consoles have moved into becoming more like PCs in so many ways, being able to have choice over what you put in there is another good point in that direction, really.
Yeah, so it says additional storage options announced or available in the fiscal year 2025, second half of 2025 fiscal year. The fiscal year 2025 is next year, by the way. So their fiscal year starts in July, so the second half of the fiscal year is November, starts in November of next year up to July. So it's possible we get new storage options announced alongside the Brooklyn 2 terabyte launch. We might get new cards with them, or we might have the ability to just shove an SSD in, which would be great. The mid-gen... Sorry, carry on.
I say fingers firmly crossed.
Yeah, well, we're going to learn more about the mid-gen consoles apparently in June of next year at what they're calling the Xbox Gaming Beat. I presume that is the showcase.
And the standard showcase they do.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. I think that there's been some miscommunication as well. I've seen where they're saying mid-gen refresh, but then there's also a comment from Phil Spencer apparently saying we don't need mid-gen refreshes. But I think what they mean is we don't need like a Pro or
Correct. Yeah.
One X. Not we need a Slim. You know, people have never referred to the Slim as or Slim versions of things as like a mid-gen refresh as such. Or maybe there's that has now changed. Now we have had the PS4 Pro. To give us a bit of extra.
I kind of think people did see them as a mid-gen refresh, though, because the One S was seen as a mid-gen refresh alongside the One X. Like, you know, the original Xbox One was a chunky piece of crap. It looked like a VCR.
It was massive.
And then you get the mid-gen refresh. I think people started calling them slim models, but it is a mid-gen refresh. We're refreshing it. We had the mid-gen refresh on the Switch, for example, which was the OLED model. It's a mid-gen refresh, doesn't really change any of the internals. We just get a better kickstand and an OLED screen. Everything else stays the same.
Maybe the miscommunication then has actually come from Phil saying no mid-gen refresh, where he means no more.
He means Pro model. There's no more going to be no more power.
Everyone else has read that to mean we're having the One X for 8 years, however long a generation is now.
I think we are going to get the Series X for 8 years. I don't think we're going to get we're going to get this Brooklyn relaunch, but I don't think we're going to get any kind of Pro model in the same way that Sony seems to be planning one. And if they can't get this below $499, which is insane to me, that next year's 5 years or 4 years, it'll be 4 years since the launch, exactly halfway through where they expect the generation to be, and the price has stayed the same. It's not gone down at all. Usually when we see these die shrinks down to 6 nanometers, that usually means it costs a little bit less to make. That's not the case here. And I don't get it, because storage surely has gone down in price. Like, we know that SSDs are cheaper. We've got no disk drive in there. It speaks about the fact that it's a smaller unit, so it's going to be cheaper to ship. It's, there's all of these things that point towards this should be cheaper to make. And maybe inflation has come into it, and that's why, and we've seen the PlayStation 5 have a price rise. But I was surprised to see that it's going to be the same price.
Well, do you know what I think? I think there's a good chance they have looked at the Nintendo Switch, which hasn't had a single price drop in the entire time it's been alive, really. Maybe it had £20 off somewhere or something like that. It's pretty much been the same price the whole way through. And they've probably thought, well, if Nintendo can do it, why can't we?
Because Nintendo's actually making games that are compelling, that make people want to buy their console. Like, that's been the problem with the Xbox. And maybe buying Activision and making some of those games exclusive and bringing them over and making them a part of Game Pass makes it a compelling package. But the reason that Nintendo can keep charging the same price for these consoles and these games is because everyone wants to play Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and Mario, and it's the only place you can play them. On a Series X, I know every single one of their games I can also play on a PC if I want to, and I think that's a great thing. It's nice to have options and choices, but there's no urgency for me to buy one of these consoles because I can play their games elsewhere, which is not the case with Nintendo.
You make a good point. Yeah, well then maybe from a business point they just decided that's what they were going to do. But you are right; it does not make sense for these things not to get cheaper to then get more out the door. But it could, again, this is also, like you say, from 2 years ago, and it could be that when it comes out they decide to change the price, or we'll have to maybe wait and see on the price.
I hope the price changes. I don't think it will, unless PlayStation has a price cut. If PlayStation has a price cut, I think Xbox has a price cut. I don't think they want to be seen as the more expensive console.
Oh, definitely not.
Especially considering, PlayStation's arguably got more going on for it at the moment in terms of exclusives. Now, speaking of PlayStation, it seems like Microsoft's taken another page out of Sony's playbook, and it's going to be bundled with a new immersive controller.
I'd like to make an argument.
Don't make this argument here. You got to make this argument at the end of the year that this is
right.
an announcement of your.
Didn't I call this?
Yeah, you did.
This?
Yeah.
Like the dual. It's even got the dual senses like little grips on the bottom of it.
So hold on. So this is the $70 Sebel controller that's due to launch in May and be announced in Q4 of fiscal year 24. That is basically the beginning of next year. So I imagine we're going to have another one of those. Remember the thing we had this year with Hi-Fi Rush where it was announced? Imagine we'll have something like that where they announce maybe a couple of games, hopefully Oblivion Remastered, and the new Sebel controller. Now, this is the new Xbox controller. It's going to replace the existing controller bundled with the Series X, but it is going to be an additional purchase if you get a Series S by the looks of it. And it's going to sell alongside the existing controller and the Elite controller. But this controller has a bunch of new features. The headline feature, I think, for me and probably for you, Max, is the haptic feedback, which is ripped straight out of the DualSense, right? This is going to allow much better vibrations, and they're also going to use that haptic feedback to double the speakers in the controller, which is really cool. But there's
I remember the Switch did that when the Switch first had it.
Yeah.
And you play Goal Story and you whiffed a ball off the edge and it would go, ew, but it would sound like it from the controller. It's really cool.
Every time I turn on my Steam Deck, it does it, and my Steam controller, it makes sound. It goes.
Oh really? Oh yeah, is that from the vibration?
Yeah, it's from the vibration mode.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I just thought it was just like one of those little things you get in the computer.
No, so that's from the vibration mode, so they can just double up as speakers. But there's some really cool things here. I think another really cool feature that they have stolen from Stadia is Direct to Cloud, and they've specifically called this up and said that they can focus on new improvements in Sebel and tell stories beyond the console. D2C, Direct to Cloud. So it seems like this controller is going to be able to directly connect to Wi-Fi, and then just connect straight to the cloud to get improved responsiveness, so that there's less lag, less latency.
Yeah, you mean in terms of playing cloud games, playing games online, right? Which I think that's that the Stadia had that right. I think of the only hardware you need is your controller. Wherever you are, you connect the controller to it, and then you play on the thing. There's no client, there's nothing connecting the two, right? And I think it's good to see that come back in with a company that's going to support it and that's not going to drop it the second they can, like Google always does with these things. So yeah, that's a cool feature, and I think that where cloud streaming I think is growing, and things like the backbone are making it more accessible, and whatever the stupid PlayStation one's called, the Portal, if this is going to make that easier and make it, if anything, more accessible because it's the cloud thing, yeah, I think that's a very cool feature, like you say. I also really like the lift to wake. That's very cool. Pick up the controller.
Yeah.
And the console comes on.
So I saw a bunch of people misreport this as having gyro. Does not seem to. It has an accelerometer in there, which is presumably used for the lift to wake feature, where you can just lift it up. The controller's now awake, presumably it's connected to the cloud, and I can just open up whatever I'm playing on, whether it's my iPad or my TV or whatever, and I can play my game, which is really cool, and I like that. I think that's a really cool feature. Alongside,
it's a shame it doesn't have gyro, because I really like that in the DualSense and
Me too.
Switch controller. Like their games have that feature.
Plus, I think it's a real shame for PC games as well, because these Xbox controllers were the de facto standard on PC for a long time. People, if you were playing on a PC, you're going to buy an Xbox controller, you're going to hook it up, and you're going to play with it. A lot of people I know now use a DualSense instead, because it adds additional features, and you get the haptics, and sometimes you get those annoying triggers that I absolutely hate. And what do you use, Max?
I use an Xbox controller. I've got a just a standard Series X controller, just because I'm used to using Xbox, and I used the Elite for a while until it sort of started to give up after a little while. But I do really like the DualSense. I just can't. It just doesn't feel right using it on a PC.
It doesn't feel right in my hands at all. My hands are too small for that controller.
Here, I prefer to have this here, but I didn't know that some of the features of the DualSense actually worked on PC, so that's quite interesting, and would get me over.
It's on all of the
Go and have a look.
PlayStation games. So, if you're playing The Last of Us, for example,
Right.
it's all in there, I don't know about other third-party games, but definitely the PlayStation ones is there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, I guess, but I'm not that bothered then if that's the case. I'll stick with the Xbox.
I mean, if you've got one, it's worth a try.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, I guess, at the end of the day. But it's also, we know that this is going to have the same ergonomics and layout as the current Series X controller, rechargeable and swappable battery. I don't know if it's included.
It doesn't look like it's going to be the same as the current controller, but I think that's just because of the way that the black is harder to see, that it looks like it's sort of slimmer and...
Yeah, I mean, they say it's the same ergonomics. The same ergonomics, layout, and activation forces. Familiar Xbox feel.
Grab it, but I believe them. They know more than I do, so... rechargeable and swappable battery, yeah, I mean, I have a play and charge kit I've had for it for like 3 different controllers that I just sort of swap between them, so I've had the same one for a long time. And I got sort of I just bought all these sort of the typical Xbox stuff, that makes it usable, a dongle and things like that to make it work with the PC. And
oh yes, the Xbox wireless dongle. Well, this has Xbox Wireless 2 in. Don't know anything about that yet, but it's possible you might need to buy another dongle in order to get it to work. I don't know if it's gonna work alongside it. I would guess not, because I presume this is gonna be backwards compatible with it's got to be backwards compatible with the current Xbox, because the new Xbox isn't going to be announced by the time this thing's out.
The current Xbox is used Bluetooth anyway, and that uses Bluetooth, so I would just at that point get a Bluetooth adapter and play with any controller I want to, really,
Okay. What do you think about the design on this? Because I've seen a bunch of people be very torn about it. It's quite striking in terms of design, and it does look quite DualSense-y. So we've got white glossy plastic with all monochrome buttons now, which I'm not a big fan of. I like the color buttons on the Xbox controllers. And then at the bottom, we've got these rubber grips that's just all the way around. Like the current rubber grips on the Elite controller, I think, are only around the back and the sides. Yeah.
So I look at this from I look at things like these from like a shoe perspective, right? Have I got any shoes to hand?
So for reference, you're a sneakerhead, right, Max?
Yes. Hang on.
Max is finding shoes. Okay.
Yeah, because these are all black and they're a bit beaten up, but still, each one of these panels, right, is that's suede, that's leather, blah blah blah, right? But each individual panel is one color. That's a black suede. That's a black suede. This bit's yellow. This bit's blah blah blah, right? And then right. If this shoe was to have a cut going through it here, and this panel stopped being all black and had white halfway through it, and then this panel here had white and it had like a white toe, I would find that to be offensive. If that, not like actually offensive, but like,
why?
I wouldn't like that. I get the same feeling from this.
Well, isn't it like a Converse?
Well, no, because Converse has a rubber cap over it, and that is a separate bit. I'm specifically talking about this shoe here has panels here, and the colors should be on the panels, and the panels shouldn't be split in half. Blah blah blah. This controller. That was really awful for the audio viewers there, but still, this controller has just put a line through it with seemingly no sort of rhyme or reason to it. There's no seam, there's no like shape, there's no nice thing. It's just like, here's a line, now it's rubber, you have to deal with it. And I don't like that. That's what's upsetting me, is it looks unnatural to me, which I know a controller isn't natural anyway, but the design of the controller, if you were to have just the front panel will be white and then the grip start at the back, because that's already separate panels. And I wish I could, do you know what, one sec.
That's how the current Xbox controllers that have the grips on work. That's how the new Starfield controller works. Yeah.
Panel, and the front.
But maybe the panels are different, now. Maybe there's like one panel across the back.
Possibly, but there's like half a centimeter from looking at this picture. There's half a centimeter that starts around here where it starts becoming rubber. Maybe it's just a bad.
It's got to be a different shape controller, because look at the orientation of the buttons as well. They've put the capture button in between the other two.
Yeah. You're right. And the Xbox button is. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
So it's
Well, I'm glad I
slightly
could be here with
different,
reference.
and I
It
think
is slightly different.
I think at the bottom maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not tapered as much. I mean,
It
it's
looks
also
at the bottom
possible
like
that
it
this.
comes in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's also possible it doesn't look like this when it launches. They might.
That's true. This could be a concept. But I still think stick to the panels. This is quite sharp now. I'm holding it, and I think this looks more rounded. And maybe that's the point: is that it's more rounded. On
It
the
says
front.
the same
So when you're holding
ergonomics
it,
though.
just stick to the panels, Xbox. You've heard me now. You've seen the shoe analogy. You've
I
seen
think
me
that-
maybe get my shoes.
I don't know. I think this is gonna look so cool on Xbox Design Lab, where I can change all the colors and I can have like a dual tone pink and yellow one, which I really want. And I think it's gonna look really nice.
You are right. But the thing is, if they're going with like this glossy white, black, blah blah blah.
The glossy.
Why is the controller all black?
The
Why
glossy's
haven't
got to
they
go.
got a strip of glossy white on top of the console or something, just to keep it in theme? It would look like a battery, admittedly. But why
Oh,
would you
yeah,
not try
the
and
new
sort of keep
Duracell
a
model,
design
yeah.
theme going on? Yeah, why would you not keep a design theme going? They've really
Maybe they will. I mean, this is the optional controller that's going to launch in May, and then it will be bundled with the Brooklyn in October. But the one that comes with that console might be all black. It might not be this white model.
That's true. But yeah, I don't like it.
One
Just to confirm.
One other thing that they mention on here, which I think is interesting, and I'd be interested to see if they also release another Elite version with the precision haptic feedback. I'd like that because I think the haptic feedback would be nice to have, but I do want back paddles. What do you think about the modular thumbsticks? I can't decide if by this they mean fully replaceable, like they are on the DualSense Edge, and I can get different modules and I can swap them out, or if I can just swap the caps like I can with magnets on the Elite.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, I found that to be sort of personally a bit of a useless feature, but that's just because the sticks when I got them were already as I wanted them. I'm sure there are people that would want that higher stick or that more travel or that rounded edge. More options is great, and if this is going to be sort of like the base controller, why not put some of the Elite features in? But you do potentially end up cannibalizing some of your Elite sales, even the buttons on the back. I know.
Well, you've also got the tightening on the sticks and
that's what I was
and the
expecting
hair
it to be.
triggers. I don't think it's that. I think it's you just swap the caps out if you want.
That's the cheapest one, isn't it? That's the cheapest one. Is you have some magnets, you have things, and then you can sell individual. You can sell bits. People on Etsy can make bits.
Yeah.
You can third-party bits. There's always money to be made there. Whether that means that the thumb pad comes off as well, because I'm not a huge fan of this D-pad.
Oh, the D-pad. Yeah, I do not like it. It's too clicky.
It's better. Yeah, it's better than it has been before, where it's been mushy or too round or whatever. Like
They
it does
do
feel more
mention
like a
that
D-pad.
the buttons are going to be quieter, but they're going to feel the same apparently. So I don't know how that works.
Okay. Magic. There's a lot of magic.
Yeah,
going on
Magic.
here.
Xbox Magic.
I need to look at this image better, but I can't.
There's a few other things related to the controller. I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to it being announced. I kind of am surprised they didn't want to get this out for holiday season because I feel like this would have
I'm
been.
upset that they haven't done that.
It would have been a perfect
because-
gift. I wanted one. I really wanted one.
Not even that. I wanted the point because I called
Oh.
this right. I called that they would do this, And as soon as I saw this, I was like, yes, and then realised that no, wait, that's not actually. This is a leak, and it's not happening anytime soon. If it does happen this year, fantastic. Give me those points. Yummy, more
Well,
points.
was it that they announced it this year? Or was it that they released it?
Great question. One that I'm not going to look up right now, but I
'Cause-
would like somebody else to do it for me.
If it's that they announced it, it could still come true because it says Q4 of 2024 fiscal year.
Happen. I reckon I put it launched like a moron.
Yeah, I
You know what
think
I'm like.
you
I'm too
probably
brazen.
think you probably did, which is a shame. But it was a good prediction because I thought we would have got something by now, like haptics or the adaptive
That's why I predicted
triggers.
it.
I also
Exactly,
really
why
wanted it.
not?
I wanted it to be gyro. Like if it was gonna have one feature, I wanted it to be gyro. You said release a new first-party controller with a feature that exists on the DualSense.
Such an idiot. I'm such a moron.
They have not done
Why
that,
am I like this?
unfortunately.
I should be going for stupid baby easy ones like Pete does.
I
Yeah,
know.
we'll
I
release
do the
video
same
games.
thing.
Nintendo released video game. I want point, please. Me, me, me. I'm the champion. Me, me, me.
Yeah.
And let's move on to whatever's.
Next gen in 2028, they're going to have a hybrid Xbox. Max, are you excited about this hybrid
What does that mean,
Xbox?
Steve? What does it mean?
It's going to be a piece of hardware that leverages the combined power of the client and the cloud to deliver deeper immersion and entirely new classes of game experience optimized for real-time gameplay and creators. We will enable new levels of performance beyond the capabilities of the client hardware alone. Think of Crackdown 3 on the original Xbox One that you're going to utilize the cloud to destroy shit. Basically, they're doing that again.
Mm-hmm. Just everywhere, with everything.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. That is basically their strategy, and I'm kind of here for it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that if the future is all digital, and as long as, I mean, it is a shame that it sounds like you're going to lose the ability to play things offline. But for me personally, specifically,
I've lost that
that's not a
ability
huge
anyway because I play
Yeah.
on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and also like Steam stuff like that. A lot of the time you've got to be online, and I'm always online. It's not a huge problem for me. So yeah, if all that means is we're going to get games that look better, run faster, etc., then that's good. However, I'm still waiting for this generation to live up to some of its promises before we start looking at the next generation.
What promises do you think has not lived up to?
My PS5 box still says 8K 120 FPS on it.
You can do that in the Tourist.
Is that the Taurus with the Y, the pixel?
Yeah, that one. That does 8K 120.
One, Steve. I look forward to buying 4K panels and putting them together just so I can play the Tourist in 8K 120 hertz. That's so exciting for me.
I don't know why Sony went with 8K. It's like a selling point. Does anyone care? No one has an 8K TV.
Well, if you're going to put it on the box, you got to do it right. I guess they're future-proofing themselves, but now we're already getting to the point where, I mean, obviously it's leaked. It's not supposed to have happened, but now we know that next gen is 5 years away. Yes.
We're going to hear about it in 4 years.
Yeah, and that gives us a deadline for these things to start happening. Not that I'm expecting all games to be 8K, 120, blah blah blah, but I do feel like especially on Xbox, a lot of the games that have come out are still playable on previous gen of Xbox. That was a difficult sentence.
That's the same with PlayStation.
Yeah, or at least PlayStation are now starting to drop the PlayStation 4 a little bit.
I mean, we've seen that with Xbox too. Starfield, Forza Motorsport, the Flight Sim. None of those are playable on Xbox One.
Fair.
I think Halo 2 was a Xbox Series X exclusive as well, wasn't it?
I don't know about that actually, personally.
Forza, I know
like
stuff
Halo
like Forza Horizon was obviously cross-platform, but I think it makes sense to do it if you've already started it on last-gen hardware and you're kind of doing an updated version for the new consoles. Why would you not go with that strategy? I think some of the stuff that they've outlined is interesting and potentially gives them an edge against PlayStation. It may be finally that we've got two boxes that are different and not just the exact same shit that are just like they're basically the same. Pick where your friends play or pick the controller you prefer.
At least make the console wars more interesting with this stuff,
And it seems like it might, right? With the cloud, I don't think Sony's going to be able to match them there. It looks like some of the silicon choices that Xbox is making may even be different. ARM64 versus X64. So at the moment, it's an X64 based platform. Has been since the Xbox One. Means that those games are basically PC games. It's basically a little PC that you're buying these consoles. ARM64, very different instruction set. May not be backwards compatible, would need like a transpilation layer similar to Proton in order to get things to work. They'll have made that silicon decision by now. On the roadmap, that would have happened in 2023. So that would have happened by now. I'll be surprised if they go with ARM, but I'll be very excited if they do, because it means something's going to be different, because I don't see PlayStation going down that route. And they've also got what they call an NPU. Do you know what an NPU is, Max?
Tell me, Steve, tell me. No, I've no fucking...
It's a neural processing unit.
I could have guessed that.
And this is
I knew what the PU stood for, that's for sure.
This is apparently balancing the desire for flexible, programmable machine learning silicon versus high performance silicon. So basically, all of the processing DLSS style shit that they're gonna do on the next generation, they can offload to this thing, and it'll do it. And that'll be done by them, so they won't, be done on the Xbox level. Similar to how Nvidia has CUDA cores, but they're kind of built in. The closest I can think to it is how iPhones and I think Android phones do it now. I think there's like tensor cores on the Google Pixel phones, and Apple has like the neural engine that they do all of this machine learning stuff on, and it's like a bit of silicon that's specifically designed for this stuff. And it seems like the next gen's going to have a real big focus on AI and machine learning. And I recommend going to watch Digital Foundry's video on this, because they did a big deep dive into it. They obviously know a lot more than we do on this stuff, and it was quite interesting. It looks like some of the stuff is ready, and they're already working on it, and it's already done. Some of it's in proof of concept, and some of it is just like ideas that they've got. So some of the stuff that we know from their document that is going to be coming in Xbox games on the next generation: deep neural network super resolution, which sounds like a lot like DLSS. And that, I think, combined with the cloud, may get you to your 8K 120 hertz max.
I think it sounds like it's the only way that it's going to happen, and I think that's fine, because it gives people the choice to do it if they want to, and they don't have to have a super hot, loud, screaming box in their room to get there, which is probably good. But I do wonder what this then means for computers, I guess. If consoles are going to start offloading loads to the cloud, are the computers going to do the same? Which in some ways is exciting, because it also means that you don't have to buy as powerful hardware to get some of the benefits, or all you need to do is subscribe to Xbox, and you can take advantage of that on your PC too. I assume the fact that you can do this stuff the fact that you can play Xbox games on the PC now, does that mean that you can simply, run a game from this new Xbox on your PC, and then it still connects to the Microsoft servers to offload a bunch of this stuff to them? Who knows?
Yeah,
so I think it's
So they've got this other chart, which I think is really interesting. It's called The Path to Leadership in Gaming. And this, I think, shows their strategy, which I think will kind of bolster your point of, will this work on PC? And I think it will, because they have PC first gamers on there as a big segment for them, along with console first gamers. But they expect cloud first gamers to kind of skyrocket over the course of now until the end of this generation and into the next generation, and at some point overtake PC first gamers. Do you buy into that? Do you buy into the fact that by 2028 there'll be more people playing on the cloud than there will be on a PC?
I think that's probably more, because if that is true, it's because cloud's going to be cheaper. If they're planning on that, they have to assume that they're planning for there to be internet of a good quality available, because I still can't do good cloud now, and my internet's not too bad. And I've been at places where the internet's pretty good, and I still get like a shoddy cloud experience, so it's not the same. However, if I can just pick up my phone and start streaming the latest Game Pass game, and it's cheaper, and there are games that are maybe only on the cloud, or blah 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 blah, all these options, I think it is possible. When are they saying this is by? Sorry. This is Gen 10. Is that? Oh yes, this is the road to 2030, isn't it? So
yeah, road to 2030. Gen 10's launching in 2028.
I just think that the technology really, really has to come along, because they've been trying things like this for so long, and none of them have worked out. But if someone like Xbox is going to really throw themselves headfirst into it, and they are one of the three big players in the market, really. then that's probably the best chance to succeed over any of the other ones that have tried so far.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because they've got the smart TV app on here, and that's really when they've set as like, now we're really making a play for the cloud, because from that point onwards, it really is like an upward trend that they're predicting. They've got the Universal Wireless Controller, which is SEBL, launching next year in fiscal year 2024. And then the mid-gen consoles, and then from there, it really is like an upward ramp that they see a lot of people being cloud-first gamers on smart TVs or streaming sticks. And maybe that controller is the secret sauce that we've been missing. That is the direct-to-cloud, lowers the latency, they can focus then less on having to get your inputs back and just get you a really good video feed, while the controller handles all the latency. And maybe there's some AI in there, which I think Stadia said they did, to predict what you're going to do next before they've even received the input. I think it's potentially just like, it could happen. I don't know. I struggle to see it because I'm like you. I've never had a good cloud experience, not once.
Yeah, and I'd love to speak to people that are getting this PlayStation Portal, and I just want to see their internet. I want to walk into their house and do a speed test. That's all I want.
Well, that portal only works from your PlayStation 5. Doesn't work from the cloud.
Still has to go over the internet, right?
No, it's like a direct connection in your house.
Either. Yeah, but if you're outside of the house, it still works, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So yeah, because I've never been able to.
You gotta have a good connection on both sides. Then you gotta have a good up speed and then a good down speed wherever you are.
I have never been able to do streaming from my PlayStation to my phone successfully ever. So which, just another reason that I'm just not that bothered by it right now. But you never know; it could get better.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, there was also there was a couple of controllers. I don't know if you saw these in the document. A one-hand controller
right now,
which looks, it kind of looks like a media remote. I don't know why they would.
Yeah, it really does look like a remote, doesn't it?
It doesn't look like a controller to me. And then the mobile controller, which looks like an Xbox version of like a Razer Kishi, that you would put your phone in between it, and then you could presumably connect to the cloud. If that's got a direct-to-cloud connection as well, then maybe that means you've got a good mobile device and you don't need something like a PlayStation Portal, which I think would be an interesting decision.
The backbone is great, but like you said before, there's latency, there's all sorts of things. Whereas here, like you say, if it's direct-to-cloud, that could be the best version. The one-hand controller looks like it's built just for Just Dance, and that's it.
It could well be.
Hold it in one hand.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we get the Kinect 3 for that.
Oh yeah, here we go. And the Kinect just uses the phones, the cameras that are already built into your TV that are already watching you anyway. It just uses your Alexas and Google Homes to track your exact movements, so you can play any game just in any room.
I think it's going to use the power of. I think it's going to utilize the power of the cloud to deliver deeper immersion and an entirely new class of game experience, Max. That's what I think it's going to do.
That's honestly, I think you're probably spot on there with what they're
we're running long today. Have you got time to tell us what you're playing in a second after the break?
Yeah, go on.
Because I think people want to hear from the number one tastemaker.
Well, obviously they've been playing nothing for the last few months, just twiddling their thumbs. When am I going to know what to play?
I have no idea what to play. This is really sad.
I don't have the tastemaker giving me what to play. Go on, do whatever you need to do now, and then we'll.
Before we get on to Max's great taste, I want to thank the Patreon producers for the month of September. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Snack You Go, Ty the Dude, and Wakahula. Thank you so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without all of the patrons. We couldn't do it without anyone that listens or watches. So thank you so much. If you want to find out everywhere we are on the web, go to flipscreen.games. That's our website. Come and join the Discord. Come ask us questions. Come tell us your hot takes. Come tell us that you think the new Xbox Series X Brooklyn is the best thing ever, or the worst thing ever, or looks like a trash can. Come tell us what you think.
I need your opinions. They keep me alive.
They do. And your opinions keep us alive, Max, because we know what to play. So what have you been playing, number one tastemaker?
So, I've had a very busy time. The opposite of you guys who have been sitting around waiting. I've been making moves. I've only actually played and finished 3 games. I'm in the middle of another game, right? I made you a little list here, so you've already got the spoilers, but I actually didn't list one of them. I played Tunic, which I thought was very good. I thought it was a very clever, sort of like Zelda-y, little bit Dark Souls-y, but also that the whole booklet thing was genius. The way it drip fed you abilities and mechanics that you were always able to do, and there's so many moments of like, oh god, I could have been doing this the whole time if only I had that page. And then when you think about it, the speed runs would be insane, and I'd like to look at some of those. Now I've beaten it, I would like to look at some people who are like, okay, cool, I'm immediately going to do the thing.
But you can do it without knowing the instruction, right? You can do the moves and figure them out yourself.
Yeah, you could do, but like the instructions what shows you how to do it. So what I'm saying is, if I was to start the game now, I'd be able to speed over to an area because I know exactly how to get to these places, because I've always been able to do it. It was the booklet that taught me how to do it, and it's very, very clever.
That's fun.
I then moved on to Blasphemous 2, which is a game I was very excited about.
Is this on your Game of the Year list?
I can't remember anything else I've played this year. Now you've said that. People say like, think of a
people
word.
People need to go see a thread on X. The games I've played.
It's on the list. It's on the games I've played, but it's not. I don't know if Game of the Year's. Give me some time to get towards that. Blasphemous 2 is on the list. It's a very good, competent Metroidvania. More of a Metroidvania than the last game, which was a lot sort of more punishing, a lot harder bosses, and probably a bit easier this time around. But it's still a good-looking game, gorgeous, and I highly recommend giving it a go. I then moved on to 9 Years of Shadows, which is another Metroidvania I've been waiting for a while to get to. This one was a lot more simple. It was sort of like it was a kickstarted one. It was a smaller team. Interesting game. It had probably some of the better boss fights I've played in Metroidvanias ever, really. But I think that the boss fight being good was sort of harshed or mellowed out a little bit by the combat being a bit below average. But yeah, so that's 3 games. Currently, I'm playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is a little unknown game from a little unknown company called EA. And I'm really enjoying it. I really enjoyed the original game. I came to it like a year late, 2 years late, maybe. I think I played it during the first lockdown or the second lockdown, something like that. It was the game that made me upgrade my PC during lockdown.
I was going to say, where are you playing this one?
On PC, yeah.
Because it's meant to be a terrible PC port, isn't it?
I've had no problems. I'm running it at max settings, which is my name. I'm running it at max settings.
Seriously, you've got the frame. You need to set a website up called maxsettings.com and max just settings. Just have all of the how you play all your games, just the settings on there. Yeah. If you want to play them at max settings, go to maxsettings.com and that's where you find them.
I tinker, so you don't have to. But I've been playing it purely on not on Steam Deck, because I've got it on the EA app because it was cheaper. But yeah, no issues. I had ray tracing on and it was like fine. I wouldn't say I've got like an incredible PC. I've got like it's something that I've bought pieces and I'm like, that seems like a fair price and I'll get it then, and I've sort of cobbled it together, and it's not a beast. It's very competent, and I've been able to run the game fine. A couple of higgledy bits.
Bit stutter.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to not performance stutter, but things like there's a mount who should quite gracefully walk through the sand, and instead the legs sort of go.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could deal with jank. I've just played Starfield.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Have you finished Starfield, or are you still playing Starfield?
Yeah. Well, I'm on New Game Plus. So.
And
it's great. I loved it. Loved every second.
Okay. Have you spoke about this before on the podcast, or have we got time to talk about it now?
We did, but you can ask me questions about it. I love it. I think it for me was an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
Okay, good. Okay, here's my big question then. Do you think Bethesda as not a publisher, as Bethesda Softworks, whatever they're called,
BGS Game Studios?
Yes. Do you think that they have meaningfully evolved in the 12 years since Skyrim, or do you think that it's still very much the same sort of like engine, the same problems, the same jank, or do you think that this is a step above and it's a next gen sort of situation, and that
engine's definitely next gen, and
it
looks great, and the physics that it can handle, I think, really prove that it's next gen. The design of the game it's a Bethesda Game Studios game. If you like them, you'll probably like it. The sense of exploration is not as good as other games, and it seems counterintuitive because it's across multiple planets, but there's only one city on each planet. You're not really going out. There's none of these sprawling maps where you're like in Skyrim, I'm going to walk over to there, or in Oblivion, I'm going to walk across the whole map, or ride a horse or whatever, or in Fallout, I'm going to walk to the waste town or whatever it is. You don't really get that. But the story's phenomenal. The gunplay felt good. I liked it. Good game.
Good. That is.
You should check it out. You should check it out.
Maybe one day.
You got Game Pass, right?
No, but I often will buy it for a month to try something out. Starfield being one of them. Because I'm such a Steam Deck guy, where I'm like, if I'm playing something on my PC, I also want the option of being able to play it on my Steam Deck, which is why it's taken me forever to get around to the Star Wars, because I started it on PC.
You can stream it, can't you?
We just had this conversation.
No, Steam Link. Oh, you want to make you take your Steam Deck out of the house, because it never leaves my home. It stays here. I play it around my house.
If I'm in this house I'm in right now, I'm in this room, and I'm looking at the TV that's there, and one of the things that's plugged into it is what I'm playing, right? Unless I'm just like, okay, there's something on TV, I'll play the Steam Deck, whatever. I'm out of the house, I'll play the Steam Deck, whatever, right? If I have that option, great. I'll Tunic I played like that. I've played so many games like that. Blasphemous 2, whatever. Star Wars, I've had to be sat in front of the TV, so I started it like a month and a half ago, and I've been out and about. I'm always here, there, and everywhere. When I move in with my girlfriend and we have our house, and there's no need for me to have to go and spend days away from my PC because I can play the games there, I'll be able to sort of get on things. And I think I might even start buying less directly through Steam when I have the option.
And you might play Starfield. That's what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah. Lies of P comes first, and then.
Oh, okay, fair. Because that's actually meant to be really good on Steam Deck anyway.
Yeah. Oh, is it? I played the demo on Steam Deck, and it was really good. Tell you what I am interested in. This is just a little bit of hardware thing that I learned. I don't know if you knew this existed. PC is going to be upstairs, right? It's 2 screens. But I also want to play things on my big TV downstairs. Now, if I gave you that conundrum, you couldn't Google anything, what would you suggest?
Plug a Steam Deck into the TV, use Steam Link or Moonlight.
Well, that's one option. But I learned about HDMI over Ethernet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an option, yeah.
Now I've already got a little switch. I'm going to get a little 2-port switch. I'm going to test this out. I'm going to report back on here. If I can get a seamless, because my issue with things like that is I just don't like, even when I tried Steam Link in this room and the PC's right there, and I'm playing, I was streaming Tunic to my Steam Deck, it was still not crisp enough. There were still little problems, right? And I think the internet in this new place is going to be worse. If I can just boop, boop, and over Ethernet, and it just is a seamless PC experience, if the PC was in that room, but it's actually upstairs, just realised I'm going to have to use a controller, and that might be a problem.
That's when you need a Steam controller.
Why?
Well, because the Steam controller, you can use the trackpad to...
No, that's not a problem. No. I mean in terms of, it does mean Bluetooth. I mean, because what I'm doing now is I'm adding games to my Steam library on PC, and then using the controller to go into the PC, to go into the new
big picture mode, yeah.
And I'm just launching all of my games that way, and then I'm also shutting the PC down from over there with the controller. It's a lovely setup. Really like the new big picture mode. Really makes me feel like my PC is a console when I need it to feel like a console, and that's sort of what I like. I've really gone on a tangent here, haven't I? But,
I would try Moonlight as well. You've got an Nvidia card, right?
I do not.
Okay, maybe ignore that then. I think it only works. I think Moonlight only works with Nvidia cards.
I will look it up. I'll look it up.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm in the research phase, so.
Yeah, you do need a game stream compatible PC, which I think is Nvidia. Anyway, I have been playing. Guess the game I've been playing, Max, which I don't think you will.
Starfield.
Nah, finish that.
I'm going to guess something else. So not Lies of P.
No, I forgot that was out.
Oh, I don't know. Go on, mate.
Cyberpunk.
Oh, really? What,
Yeah.
the original launch, or are you on the DLC?
I'm on the 2.0 update, the original launch,
Okay.
and I'm working through all of those changes. And then I think I want the DLC because I love Idris Elba so much, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. I want you to have the DLC. I think I've been very tempted with the 2.0 to give Cyberpunk a go. I've never seen it in my head as my kind of game, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I just don't know if I'm willing to give it a shot for £30. But I know a friend who's got a Steam account that he's got it on that he never doesn't really use at the moment. So I'll probably give it a go at some point when I'm all set up, and maybe I'll become a huge Cyberpunk guy. You know, where I'm so anti The Witcher on this podcast and everywhere I ever go in my life, maybe I'm going to swap and become an amazing, huge, big fan of Cyberpunk.
Maybe. I mean, it's not clicked for me yet. I'm doing the Nomad story.
I thought you were going to rave about it then.
Well, the fucking... I forgot how slow the opening to these games are. Like, it's like 8 hours before you can fucking do anything in Cyberpunk. And it's like, come on, man. I kind of regretted starting again, but then I opened up my save and I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. I've got no clue where I am.
This is why I like FromSoft and Souls games, where it's just like, it gives you a little bit at the start where it's like, you are the smelly one.
You got no maiden, she don't want you.
Yeah, go smelly boy, and then you just have your sword and you just go start fucking things up, and there's no like, go speak to that character, follow him for a bit.
See, Pete's like, boy, I hate that. That's not good design. That's just so like obtuse, and you know, people say this is good, but I just think it's annoying, and I'm just like, you know, I think it's part of the charm. That's why I loved Elden Ring so much. I didn't need a quest log. I just talk to people and I go, hey, who's that over there? I'll go talk and see, and they'll be like, I'm looking for someone. Have you seen her? Can you go find her for me?
I just want to pick it up. I want to be negged by the NPCs, and I want to go and fuck things up with my big sword.
And then I'll go back to like the beginning bit when I want to feel like a hero, and I'll fuck them up so bad.
Yeah. That's all I want from a game. And that's why I like Metroidvanias, because they're like, you know, you start the game and they're like, you've got no stuff, mate. And you're like, well, let me go and find some stuff. And you find enough stuff that eventually you're like, I've got all this stuff. I'm so powerful.
Honestly, the end of Dread, the end of Metroid Dread, when you're like, I was like, oh my God, I feel incredible.
It's just this for hours. It's great. It's actually really made me achy, but you just go really fast forever. And like, you're like, I don't know what the story is. I'm just going really fast, and that's what I like about video games. Games that have 8-hour introductions and want to talk to me all the time, and they make you go, hey, come over here, and I've got to go, oh.
All right, okay, maybe Starfield's not the thing for you, because the companion will want to talk to you every 2 fucking seconds. You'll literally be in the middle of shooting. I was at the end of the game, and Sam's like, hey, when you've got a second, can we just have a quick chat? And I'm like, mate, I'm about to finish the fucking game. Like,
what could you possibly
maybe
have to
chill?
Say that are more interesting
We're gonna roll credits in a couple of minutes, but you know, as long as you need to talk to me, I guess that's all that matters. Before we wrap up, Max, should I play Blasphemous 2 if I've not played Blasphemous? I want another Metroidvania to play, and I've not really played much since Dread.
Play Blasphemous. I don't know why you haven't or wouldn't play Blasphemous. It's quite cheap. It's like a £5 on PC. It runs really well on Steam Deck. It's a solid Metroidvania mixed with a little bit of Souls, more Souls in the first one. It's a solid game, and I think you would enjoy it. But if you want, I can put together a little like compendium of games that I would also recommend at the same time.
Yeah, things that you think I would like.
Time Spin is really nice. And the sequel was just announced, like 2 days ago. Axiom Verge is good. I could be here for ages, so why don't we talk after the fact, and I'll give you some.
Yeah. We'll put a list together, and there's a couple of things I need to ask you on Nintendo Noise as well. So, get thinking about what you thought of Tears of the Kingdom, because Andrew Valentine wants to know. And if everyone wants to hear about that, come listen to this week's Nintendo Noise. But yeah, anyway,
I'll be there.
Max, thank you for joining me. And thanks everyone for listening. Thanks again to our Patreon producers for the month of September, and everyone that supports us on Patreon. If you want to join them, of course, you can head over to patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. And if you want to come and join the conversation, head over to our website, flipscreen.games. Come join the Discord. Come say hey. Me, Max, Pete, Sierra, We're all in there. Chewie's there. Come and say hey. Come and hang. Have a good time. Anyway.
No more to add.
We shall see you on the next one. Bye.